there is a war on black boys in this country. In my opinion, there is a war on African-American men. It is an absolutely deplorable situation that the United States, which is supposed to be the greatest nation on earth, sits back and allows black boys to be murdered.
Black boys being murdered in the context of Ferguson. Are you kidding me? The truth is that 91% of black homicide victims are killed by other blacks. 91%. Yet that woman tries to mislead folks by accusing American law enforcement of shooting down young black men in the streets. It's beyond belief.
All right, folks, welcome back. By the way, that was Michelle Bernard, that woman. And our guest, who some might call that man, is Charles Hurd, columnist for the Washington Times. He joins us now. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Welcome back. Great to talk to you. Great piece recently in the Times about the situation in Ferguson with the headline, Race, Pimps and War Tanks, Why Ferguson Was a Perfect Storm. Boy, so many ingredients here, and you write about them all so eloquently. And here we are today with the funeral, which, by the way, was covered by some of the networks like it was a funeral for a head of state.
And the White House treated it like it was a funeral for a head of state by sending no fewer than 3 designated officials to represent the White House. And I don't remember that. I can't think of another case where the White House has done that for any sort of dignitary or accomplished person or anything other than a head of state in the last since during this presidency.
Why this case, Charles? Why in this case, which, as you point out in the column, although we don't know what happened yet, why such a flawed symbol, if you will, in Michael Brown? At least flawed from the video we saw, and according to what we know to be the police side of the story, flawed in other ways, quite possibly as well.
Yeah, I mean, and every conversation should begin by noting that it was a terrible tragedy. It's a horrible, horrible, heartbreaking thing that an unarmed 18-year-old kid got shot and killed. He sounds like he was a thug. He sounds like he was a thief, and he sounds like he suffered from a pretty extraordinary sense of entitlement based on the video that we saw. Which, by the way, I think the White House lobbied, the administration rather lobbied the police not to.
Right, Eric Holder didn't want it released. I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. But all that, all of that stipulated, it's still a tragedy. It's still a heartbreaking tragedy because 18-year-olds do stupid things. And clearly, and we don't know. He very well may have charged the cop, and he very well may have the police officer may have legitimately felt like his life was in danger. But I would imagine, I would hope that every police chief in America looks at this and says, "Wow, that's a tragedy. What do we do to prevent that from happening?" But the idea that these people would come in and turn it into this and politicize this thing as if it's a white versus black thing, and it makes the false argument that people who are sticking up for the police in this case, or are trying to defend the police officer and his family, are somehow racists who somehow are glad that this kid got killed. It's just it's shocking, it's stunning, and it makes you realize no wonder so many people have and when I say so many people, I mean people like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson have never gotten out of the infancy of a race conversation in America. Most of us have moved on. Most of us walk down the street and encounter blacks and whites, and it's not a big deal. You hold the door for the person behind you. You say hello. You nod. You share a joke on a street corner, and it happens every day between blacks and whites. We've moved on, but these people haven't, and of course they can't move on because Steve, they have so much money invested in this false debate that they are able to gin up every time something like this happens. And I'm sorry to say this depresses me to say it, but Eric Holder and President Obama, they may not be the hucksters that Al Sharpton is, but they're just a white shoe version of it, because they do the same thing. They play the same politics, and it's we heard it subtly during the 2008 campaign, and we heard it explicitly from the Democratic Party during the 2012 campaign. And instead of America's first black president advancing us into a new realm of sort of peace among races, it's actually driven a wedge and sent us backwards. And that to me is such a depressing thing to actually have to say.
Absolutely, and I've talked about this. I go back to when Jesse Jackson, would bring up Emmett Till in the Trayvon Martin case and compare Trayvon Martin to Emmett Till, which I thought was a horrific thing to say, and just taking his memory and what it meant and who he was and what he went through, and just throwing it under the bus. Today he was talking about, or the other day he was talking about Rosa Parks on Fox News Sunday, and again, it just seems so disrespectful to me, and I'm not black, to think that, you take Michael Brown, who at least we saw the video of, and Trayvon Martin, who we know was beaten up, for whatever reason, was smashing the head of Zimmerman into the ground and broke his nose, and to call them Emmett Till, Rosa Parks, and all that, I don't get it.
And also, the notion that somehow, you look at a guy like Michael Brown, who, and I don't know that much about him except that what apparently he did moments before this altercation, which I'm sure, having come off of a strong arm robbery, would have heightened his sense of retaliation or confrontation with police. But whatever, the message that these people, these race pimps, peddle about how in America the American dream is denied to black males, and if you're a black male, if you're born a black male, prepare for failure. You will never accomplish anything in this country. This country is not the boundless opportunities of this country are not available to you. And every time every failure you have in your life is someone else's fault. It's not your fault. My goodness, if I adopted a black child and was raising that black child, not only would I not say that, those things are the last thing I would ever dream of saying to that child. And I would say, no, ignore it. You must push through it. It's not, you can't look at the world like that, because if you look at the world from the perspective of everything is an excuse, oh, it's not my fault, who can possibly overcome that?
Right. And Charles, by the way, all they have to do, not that there aren't problems, but all they have to do is look at the president, look at the attorney general, look at the Supreme Court. Look around them, so it flies in the face of what Sharpton and Jackson and others preach.
It totally does. And how many generations of black males, black boys have just sort of been doomed because all they've ever heard from leaders like Al Sharpton and heck, Reverend Wright and a lot of preachers that I've heard personally. The only message they get is, oh, it's not your fault. It's the government's fault. It's a racist people's fault. And as you say, as you know, I'm not saying it's 100% perfect. Of course there are problems, and of course there are clear instances of disadvantages. But what is the best way to bulldoze through those obstacles? Is it to be told you're a loser, you're a failure, you'll never overcome it, or is it to say you don't see it, drive through it, go over it, persevere? That's the message. And I would dare say that Martin Luther King Jr. and Frederick Douglass, and even as controversial as Malcolm X is or was at the time, I think his message I know his message. If you read what he wrote back then, his message would have been, America you are blessed to be America reach. You must do this. We must do this ourselves. We must pick ourselves up, and that's the only winning message out of this. The idea that there's still people in like Eric Holder or like President Obama that wish to play these other games, it's really depressing.
And Charles, here's the sad irony. What Obama and Holder should do is tell their life story. Now, I know Obama can't tell or won't tell his entire life story, but to the extent that he could, and Holder and other black liberals who have been successful that are on television or whatever, though, even the Michael Eric Dysons, that instead of even the Mark Lamont Hills, who in my opinion is a cop hater, instead of putting forth the hate and the you can't succeed and America's racist, talk about how you succeeded. What paths did you take? How did you do it? It had to start with education, I'll tell you that.
And the thing is that Americans love underdogs. They always love underdogs, and I've always thought that is.
We got about 20 seconds. Go ahead.
And that underdog story is a great story to tell, and it wins for us, but it also wins for them, as you were saying.
Yeah. Hey, Charles, great to talk to you, sir. Great. Welcome back, and thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Charles Hurt, ladies and gentlemen. Very riveting piece. Race Pimps and War Tanks, Why Ferguson Was a Perfect Storm. Check it out at WashingtonTimes.com. All right. Up next, the Malzberg panel once again. Don't miss it on the Steve Malzberg Show.